Definitely. When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
We're on to Cincinnati.
It's my team. It's my quarterback.
They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Hello? You play to win the game.
They want you to cook the dinner. At least they ought to let you shop for some of the groceries.
And on the way up, we're going to buy the kneecap off.
Playoffs? You kidding me?
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
How can you not be romantic about football, man?
Woo! Welcome to Bench with Okay, nobody freak out. Nobody freak out. We've got a huge get today. Find a mirror, Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen is on Bench with Bonnetta, folks.
How are you,
I feel like everyone's like high tension right now. It's like, okay,
Why?
the show's got to be good because you're a pro, Rich.
So what does that mean?
We got to come prepared.
You're professional.
I'm not prepared for anyone else but you.
Well, good. I'm glad that I am here.
Feel special. Okay,
you.
first things first. This just dropped. We got to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
Nathaniel Hackett
Yeah.
is now your offensive coordinator
Yes.
for the Jets. I listened to the show. You seem positive.
Yes.
Is this a kind of thing like I'm going to be positive about it and I'm going to feel good, like kind of like you're putting that out into the universe?
Speak it into existence.
Exactly.
I don't know. I hope that he's gotten his problems communicating and coordinating for a guy named Wilson out of the way.
Oh, yep.
He's now doubled his number of Wilsons.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Zach and Garrett.
Oh, yes.
So he can't quit Wilson. Maybe he'll get the volleyball from
Castaway.
Castaway.
Yeah.
That shipwrecked movie. At any rate, I don't know. I mean, look, I'll just say I want the guy who almost took Blake Bortles to the Super Bowl. So that's the guy I want. I'm going to say he's still in there.
Yeah.
He's still that guy.
Inside of him, deep inside somewhere.
Yeah, and the issues that he had this year, in some parts are issues that won't be on his plate.
Right.
Like kicking 90-yard field goals as opposed to letting his quarterback cook.
Yeah.
Or whatever the defense thought of his offense. That's a Robert Saleh problem now. So I'm going to hope that the guy that almost took Blake Bortles to the Super Bowl can turn Zach around.
I've heard some whispers about
What's that?
the quarterback situation.
Okay.
Like, could you imagine if it's Aaron Rodgers?
Yes.
I've seen some Photoshops of Rodgers in a jersey.
Yes.
How do all of those things make you feel?
I thought I was on ayahuasca when I saw that, actually. I'm like, what's in my tea?
And you're like, give me some more of that.
I need some more of that. I need championships from him.
Yeah. So you would be into that.
I guess.
But with that comes baggage.
A little bit,
Mm-hmm.
don't you think?
I think so.
But also comes the 39-year-old who can be a dynamite quarterback. And, Brady's years 39 to 41 were championship years, and he is a better athlete than Brady entering his 39th year on the planet. So
there's no way he's done, though, right? Like that's
I have no idea.
We're
That's the whole
saying
thing with him
he's
is I have no idea. And I don't know why he'd want to do it. I would think he should stay at the place where he is beloved, where he his car already knows its way to work. Unless he is sitting there saying, I've done this one way for almost 20 years before I'm done playing. Maybe I should try someplace else.
Yeah.
It would be stunning to me if he chooses the same post Green Bay team, same one as Favre's. I mean, it would be weird.
That would be wild.
And that was a terrible mix. But, Robert Saleh isn't Eric Mangini, and the team that the Jets have currently on defense, he knows very well because half of them were sitting in his lap when they visited him in Green Bay. I think it was week 4 this year. So, I would just be stunned if he's like, I'm done with Green Bay. Yes, I want the Jets.
Do you think that there's a part of him, though, that is like, he's a little bit younger, but he's looking at Tom Brady. Tom left. He won a Super Bowl immediately. Do you think that part of him is just like, I could do that? I'm in the same conversation as Tom, obviously.
I am officially out. I'm going to choose Benched with Bonnetta to make
Here we
this
go,
announcement.
folks.
I am officially out of the guessing what's in Aaron Rodgers' head business.
Oh, it's official. Should I jump
I'm
on
out.
that train as well?
I'm out. Well, actually, what that means is it's there for you to fill the void if you care.
I
to
don't
do
know
that.
if I do.
I am out of the what's Aaron Rodgers thinking, what's in his head business.
It's
I'm
official.
done with it.
All right, verified.
I shan't go in that direction.
Has there ever been a time, because I love your attitude on Sunday mornings.
Thank you.
You're very much like love, hate the Jets. You always have, always will. Has there ever been a moment where you're like, I'm actually done? Like I'm
Like a
not
fireman
going
Ed moment
to,
where I'm out?
Yeah, like I'm not going to return to this
Well,
team next season.
Yeah. If I was never out when Sanchez ran into the ass of his teammate, when am I ever going to be out? Like that's what we would call the floor.
Yes.
Okay. There's nothing worse than that. Adam Gase, googly-eyed Adam Gase press conference. I wasn't out then. I can't imagine when I'd ever be out.
So you've never been close then?
I can't. I mean, not really.
It's almost like you love to be like full of hatred.
No, I just know at some point
team.
it's going to change. I mean, It was when I was an embryo, they won. So it's going to happen at some point in the history of planet Earth. I would like to be above ground for it, and I'd like to still be on board. I mean, what terrible luck that would be if I was out.
Have you gotten your kids into it?
Well, here's the deal. My wife is from New England. And so we first had a kid in 2008.
Okay.
So right after the undefeated regular season.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady's also a Michigan guy.
Okay, so they're full Patriots.
For me to have basically said to my wife, hey, we need to raise our children a Jet fan in the midst of a magical run.
That's hard.
Involving Brady and Belichick. I think child services would have come to remove custody rights on the spot. I put my marker on the Yankees. That was one that I kind of...
You got one.
My one preemptory.
Yeah.
That's where I did it. But no, I couldn't, let me place all of this emotional baggage upon my children. I can't do that. So.
Rich, you were just looking around this studio and you were like, this is insane.
It is great. I love it.
Chris Wessling Studio at NFL Network. It's absolutely amazing.
It is amazing.
Talk to me about, you were mentioning that you were like the first NFL podcast way back when this place was in Culver City and not looking as glamorous as that. Is that how the Rich Eisen show got started? It started as a podcast?
It is. Yeah, it
wow.
did. In like 2010, I was thinking about what else could I do, with the platform that NFL Network had grown into.
And you got to NFL Network when? When did that start?
First, I was on-air employee 1.
Wild.
Yeah, I was maybe employee 3 or 4, period.
Okay, hold on. Pause there for a second. Because you came from ESPN. That must have been, like, scary.
It was quite a time. I mean, it was, I had been on SportsCenter for 7 years, and I wanted to do something other than just SportsCenter alone.
Yeah.
Was essentially told no. I held my breath for a while, and then they finally came around and offered me a show called Cold Pizza.
I know that show.
And they wanted me to be the first host of Cold Pizza, and it spoke to me because it was being done out of New York, where I'm from originally, and I kind of wanted to get out of living in central Connecticut. But the fit, quite honestly, didn't feel right. That I thought like that show could get canceled within a year, and then I stuck around to do something else, and now I'm just still doing 200 sports centers a year, 100 whatever, 80 I was doing, which was great. I mean, I loved it, but, not to get too deep in the weeds, at the time, when I first went to SportsCenter, it was a show where everybody tuned in to see either what happened because they didn't see the game, or they only saw it once, and there were no phones to see everything in the palm of your hand. They legitimately wanted to relive a game and see it in a highlight form. And towards the end of my tenure there, people were already seeing it on the internet. I mean, phones weren't terribly prolific. But people were SportsCenter executives had assumed everyone was watching the show fully knowledgeable of what happened. So it turned into an argument show where 2 analysts came on to argue about why something happened.
Wow.
So I wasn't really into that anymore.
Good thing that's not popular anymore.
But that's where it was all headed.
Yeah.
And so I had an opportunity to come out here and start NFL Network. And I kind of dug it. But ESPN broke up with me first.
Yeah.
And coming out here was unbelievable, but it really was jarring. I mean, NFL Network was in 12 million homes when we started. It was on DirecTV, and just a handful of small cable outlets.
Is 12 this is a dumb question. Is 12 million homes a very few?
Yeah, I mean, ESPN Sports Center back in the day when I was on, it was in like 110. So I basically cut my exposure by 90% coming here.
Yeah.
And it was mind-blowing. But it was just a small group of us, about 20 of us that started, and it was one of those things when we would go home before leaving, because there was no news desk, there was no anything, that we're in this palace right now, which is amazing. We would use this newfangled portal called Google News. I'm not kidding you. Like, it was like, wow, that Google started a news page. So we would look at it to see, did any stories break before we closed up total access for the end of the night.
Yeah.
And I remember driving home every night, I would listen to local sports talk radio here, like kind of white-knuckling every time they did an update involving the NFL, thinking that I'd have to turn around and
go back.
Yeah,
Wow.
like
Was
that's
it
the way we started.
what was the setup of the? Was it like a 24 hours? Was it just broadcasting like old games?
We were showing a lot of NFL films. Yes, without Steve Sable, this place would never have existed.
Wow.
Ever. So it was a lot of NFL films, and then it was just a couple of shows. It was us on Total Access, a show called Coach Speak, where it was Marv Levy and Mike Ditka talking about news, items of the day, and it was like, like the two Muppets in the balcony just talking football. And anyway, I just called two Hall of Fame coaches Muppets, but that's the way we started. So this is a long-winded answer for what you're saying. I just remember my wife Susie was working here in Los Angeles and was covering the Lakers, and so we went to the NBA All-Star game in February of '04. And NFL Network came on the air in the middle of November of '03. So we were about 3-4 months old. And I went to the NBA All-Star party that she got us tickets to.
Yeah.
So we're in there, or she got the passes, and we're in there, and somebody comes up to me and says, "Man, I love watching you every morning." And I'm like, wow, I found somebody who's got NFL Network. This is great. I'm like, what do you like about NFL Network? And he says to me, what are you talking about?
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I'm on NFL Network. He said, quote unquote, what's that? I explained to him what it was. He says, you're not on SportsCenter anymore. I'm like, no, I haven't been on since last May. And he paused and he looks at me. He goes, are you all right? And I'm like, I can fog up a mirror in front of you if you'd like. I mean, I'm talking to you.
What?
I mean, I'm taking in oxygen and putting out carbon dioxide. Like we're talking.
Yeah.
But that was the general sense of, what the hell did you just do with your life? But what I did was I bet on the NFL, and I bet on myself, and I bet on living in California, and I bet on all of that. And I just, again, remember the first Super Bowl we did, which was Brady versus Jake Delhomme, Patriots-Panthers in Houston. And we were on in every hotel room. I mean, Steve Bornstein in the league and did an incredible job of getting us out there. We were on in every hotel room. Every media bus had a TV on it. Like, I don't know how they did it, but the TVs were on NFL Network and media buses in every hotel room. When you went in the convention center, every 5 feet was a television with NFL Network on it. And I just remember that's what it felt like being fully distributed for the first time.
That is
and
so
it was
cool.
mind-blowing.
Goosebumps.
By the end of the weekend, we crushed it. Like, our guest list was amazing. We had a whole bunch of people, because it was Houston, and Bob McNair, the owner of the Texans, brought Bush 41. And so I interviewed an actual president, former president, and the CBS crew came by, and that was the first time Deion Sanders ever appeared on NFL Network, because he was on CBS at the time.
Wow.
We interviewed the co-MVPs of the NFL, which was Peyton Manning and Steve McNair. We had everybody. Belichick stopped by on a Tuesday night. He was coaching in the game.
You
Unreal.
must have been like, oh my God,
I
this
was.
is
And
happening.
I felt validated walking out of the convention center. Like, okay, this is what it can be like.
Yeah.
And we're going to be good.
Yeah.
And then the off season hit, and we're like, what the?
Oh, no.
What are we doing now?
It's so crazy, because like Canada has TSN, which is like ESPN's sister, but we also had like SportsCenter every single night, and and Jay Onrait and Dan O'Toole, they were
I know them.
gods.
They're funny.
They were gods
Right.
among us mere mortals. Like, I remember seeing Jay. I was in a cab, and I saw Jay cross the street, and I was like, that's Jay Onrait. Like, oh my God. First off, he's like 7'5". You can easily pick him out. But like, what I mean to say is like, being on SportsCenter is such a huge, massive role, and I can imagine how scary that was to give that up. And then to come here, I remember my first day coming here. It was the grand opening of this building.
Yeah, that's right.
And you came and did a speech downstairs, and you got a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, like, the history of this place. I kind of was just, I just
Yeah.
popped into sports in a weird way. But now hearing you tell that story and then thinking about how far this place has come, like from our morning show, Good Morning Football, all the way to like, I'm biased, but I think our Sunday show is the best Sunday morning show
I agree with
on
you,
air.
We're biased.
We are biased, but everyone says it. Everyone talks about it.
But yeah, like, I did a Total Access from the inception of the network to 2011 to the lockout. When the lockout was over, that's when Thursday Night Football became more, I think this is the order of events. It was on Thursday Night Football when it started was just from Thanksgiving on. And then they wanted it every Thursday.
Yeah.
So doing my show and my podcast and Total Access and then Thursday night and then Sundays was just an impossibility. So I was off of the Total Access daily grind.
Crazy.
But from 03 to 2011, I did Total Access in the same seat. And by the same seat, I mean the actual friggin' chair. And like around 2008, I'm like, I am going to go on the air and it's going to friggin' break. Like, can we get a new chair, please? And like that was the way we started. And so when I walk into this building every time, I'm like,
no broken
I
chairs.
cannot, well, I'm assuming, but it is incredible, across the way from a stadium that when we first started NFL Network, like, why are you putting it in Los Angeles? Like, there's no teams there.
Yeah.
And like the answer was because Steve Bornstein has a house there.
Right.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
So that's why we were here, and I liked being here, and I loved that it was out here, and it was an allure for me to come here as well. But now the fact that, like everyone's like, what's this about? What's this channel about? What are you going to talk about when you're not, when you're not playing games? What is it going to be like? Why are you in Los Angeles? And now we're in this spot, and there's that stadium across the street.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. More Benched with Bonnetta after this. Don't go anywhere. With your own show. So it started as a podcast.
Yes.
Now you're on Roku every single day,
Yes.
9 to 12 Pacific, right?
Yeah, right.
Like I said, you're our big get on this show. And
Thank
we've
you.
had Justin Jefferson. Okay, Rich? So I'm just like throwing that out
Well,
there.
I mean, I think I'm grabbing your questions one-handed. I think,
There you
I
go.
mean, what else?
Who is your, since you've, the Rich Eisen show has blown up just as much as this place has from the bottom up, who's like been your biggest get? What is like the biggest accomplishment of that show?
Oh, man, just the biggest accomplishment of the show is that it still exists.
Truly.
I'm not kidding you. I got, all right. So I did the podcast here, and around 2013, I got a call from DirecTV, an executive named Chris Long, who's got his roots from Fox Sports as well. And he says, Dan Patrick's show, we want to have another show after it. How about your podcast coming over and doing that? Because Dan and I go back to 1996 when I first started. He was hazing me the first minute I walked in the door there. That's
incredible.
Yeah, I'll never forget. Just, I would do the 2 a.m. Sports Center. He would do the 11 o'clock with Keith Olbermann, and the tapes of the highlights would come up in this plastic bin. And as soon as they came up, I was 26 years old. And I voraciously took them and watched the highlights first. Otherwise, I'd be doing it blind for the first time on the air. So, like, I remember the first time I'm doing this, and I'm staring at the screen. I'm taking notes, and I'm making sure it's all set. And I feel this presence to my left. It's Dan Patrick. I look up, and he looks down at me and goes, so, You nervous? Like Dan. So it like where we go way back, and so the answer to that was absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, I had to give up my firstborn child in order to get a chance to do that, but thankfully the NFL and everybody played along nicely, and eventually I got to do it in 2014, and then in late 2019, I got a call from the powers that be at DirecTV that they were shuttering the network that the show was on.
Yeah.
And the show was legitimately over, and it was 2 days before Christmas in 2019.
Oh my God.
And then I went to that Super Bowl, which was the Chiefs and the Niners in Miami.
So this was just a couple years ago then.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Chiefs and was it Chiefs Niners in Miami? In
Yeah.
2020? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
what it was. So it's interesting. It could be like a potential repeat of
Ooh.
it. But at any rate, so I'm there trying to find a new partner potentially and kicking tires there, and then the pandemic hits.
Oh.
So I've lost my television partner, my radio partner, and then there's something called a pandemic.
Yeah.
So I ended up coming back from that combine in 2020 and going only on YouTube. Took the show to NBC Sportsnet for nothing, just to get some exposure.
Yeah.
So I was doing the show every day, self-funding it at some point.
No way.
Yeah, just to keep it alive and see what would happen. And then Peacock came along in late 2020 saying, we'll take you. And so that helped keep the show alive. And now we're on Roku.
Yeah.
And I own the show, so when I'm
Oh,
not
that's huge.
working on it, I'm making phone calls. It's huge. Thank you for saying that, but I've never thought I was management as well as on the air too. Like I don't know. I'm learning on the fly. So the fact that it exists is its biggest accomplishment.
But do you like that you've gone from, having somebody help you make it to be like, now this is mine? I mean, I know there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, but there must be a lot of like, wow, I own this.
Do you like when people tell you what to do?
No.
Okay, there you go.
Hopefully my boss is on
no, I don't know if they're in their offices watching. But yeah, I mean, like, so of course though, I have partners and I have people that are keen to hear certain things, see certain things that I need to cater to. But it's been great, and I do love having the guests on and chopping it up, and that's the other thing too, is doing what we do. Is great, and every single executive that I've ever met wants to make a connection between the shows and those at home watching, and we try to do that all the time with our schedule release show. Like, how do we get fans interested in the schedule coming out? Like, literally, the schedule release is essentially a show about the release of paperwork.
The document that you could easily find online.
Exactly. Like, hey, let's go. So one year, we wound up sending reporters to sports bars, and instead we, just to hear what the fans have to say. And poor Albert Breer's sitting there in a Washington sports pub, and there's the Caps on behind him. Nobody's thinking about the new Washington football team schedule or whatever.
Yeah.
So the answer is to have a show like the one that I am. Let's have fans, like having fans actually call in and give their thoughts and chop it up with them. I love doing that. I did stand up in college.
You did stand up?
Yes.
For how long?
4 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How did it go? I'm not surprised because you are very funny.
Thank you.
Stand-up's terrifying.
It is
and
terrifying.
Awful.
It's nothing I've ever done approaches it. It's made everything else I've ever done in my career easier.
That's why I love doing improv. Because going
That's
on
even
live television,
crazier.
it's like, I don't...
Well, I mean, you definitely have the chops. I mean, the videos
Thank
that you
you.
put out are
Thanks.
laugh out loud hilarious.
Thank you.
And I don't know how you come up with these things, and how you spend time in what appears to be
I
your
love
apartment
Mooch.
playing dress up and all that craziness.
Mooch comes up to me every single Sunday without fail after we've played something, and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, what is wrong with you?
I love it. That's great. And by the way, I've told him he's got full of stories. You did one segment on our show this year about you retelling the Mooch's stories and having him tell them, and you kind of reenact them.
Yeah.
He is one of the greatest storytellers
He is,
ever, and there are so many more that he should put into your
He was so
hands.
uneasy about us doing that.
I don't know why.
Because I think he was just like, I don't know what you guys are getting up to, but I'll tell the story. But like, I don't know what you're doing.
They're amazing.
He's like, don't worry about it.
He told one story, and I'll tell it here because I've made him tell it on my show. He told a story based on, I don't know if there's, I can't keep track of all the conference rooms here. It's the other place, there were only a handful of them. So there was a conference room in the previous spot we were in called the Montana Room, named after the great Joe Montana. And in the room, there's a photograph of Montana. It's an iconic photograph of Montana and Bill Walsh taking a knee on the turf in Candlestick Park, apparently drawing up a play on the turf.
Yes.
It's an iconic photograph, and it's on the wall.
Yeah.
Do you know the story?
I do, but
okay.
continue
All
on.
right, I'll
It's a
tell
great
it.
story.
Anyway, so he tells a story. We're just sitting there, and just out of many great things in our business, it's born out of sheer boredom. Mooch tells the story of how he loved this photograph, and he always wanted a moment like this with Steve Young. And unbeknownst to Steve Young, he went into a game where he thought like this is possible. Like he went into games thinking if there's a blowout, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And so one time, third quarter or late second quarter, the game's out of hand. He fires off a timeout because he notices the team photographer to his left. And he calls the photographer over, fires off a timeout, and has Steve Young come over. And Young is like, "What?" First of all, he's like, "Why'd you call timeout? I'm not coming." Like, "Why am I coming over?" He's just, "Get over here." And you know how Mooch tells stories. And so he wound up attempting to take a knee, and Young is like, "What the hell are you doing?" And just as he was taking a knee with Steve Young, the Gatorade guy came around to give Young, the usual timeout hydration, and got in the way of the shot. And he never got his shot. And Young never knew that story. And I had Mooch tell it on the show, and I played it for Steve Young.
That is
Young had never.
What was his
known.
reaction?
He couldn't, he couldn't believe it, but he totally believed it.
Of course, Mooch would do something like that.
I don't know why I ended up telling you this story. But,
No, it's a great story.
But anyway, we do love. So doing stand up, I did that for 4 years. It's made everything else that much easier.
Yeah.
And that's why I like mixing it up with fans.
Yeah.
I like chopping it up.
Because you've been so dedicated your entire life to sports, what was the backup plan? Like, what would you be doing in this life if sports, for some reason, didn't exist?
I don't know, because I couldn't play it.
You had no other backup plan.
I couldn't play it.
Would you have gotten
really.
into news?
I did.
That's
my first job was as the a beat reporter for my hometown newspaper.
Yeah, you told me you used to have to like work the teleprompter with your foot while you were also
that was doing
reading
TV.
the news, right?
That was after, but my first job was actually working for my hometown newspaper, writing, and
crazy.
I wasn't cut out for it. I wasn't cut out for.
You
news.
wrote a book.
I know, but I wasn't cut out for news. Like I just hated going to hard news stories. I'm more of a fun and games guy.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't cut out for doing it, and I have nothing but the greatest respect for those who are cut out for it. But I went back to school for TV, and then I did go to Redding, California, where I did work the teleprompter with a foot pedal.
Which is like tapping your head and rubbing your belly at the same time.
ESPN found me there.
But on live television.
And here I am, benched with you.
Benched with me, baby. Okay, let's talk about actual football.
Sure.
I've loved going down memory lane with you. That was really awesome. The MVP finalists were announced.
Yes.
We've got Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson. We love to see it, and Patrick Mahomes. The media votes on this. Do you vote on it?
No, I actually.
Why not?
You've hit on a very sore subject with me, because the AP runs it.
Yes.
I'm an NFL employee.
Why would you not be able to vote on it?
I have spoken to the Associated Press and I've personally told them they suck. I'm like, who sees more football than me, and who has proven over 20 years that I am not beholden to the so-called party or company line. But because I'm an NFL employee, they will not give me a vote. I haven't had a vote in 20 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, come on.
What was the reaction to you telling them that they suck?
This is the policy. It's not my...
What's the policy? Media members vote on it.
I know, but I am an NFL employee.
Because you are an employee. That seems ridiculous.
So I do not have a vote. If I had a vote, I'd give it to Jalen Hurts.
Oh, how come?
I just think what he has turned himself into is remarkable.
Yeah.
I think we saw what the offense also looked like with Gardner Minshew, with all due respect to him. I think he is. I love him, but I mean, I just had Dallas Goedert today on the show. Speak to any Eagle, and they will talk about Hurts' value.
How incredible he is.
Right.
Well, Nick Sirianni just referred to him as Michael Jordan.
I know. So he has that. He has this mentality that's all business and also very Philly-like. You know, I think that he's a coach of a son, which means he's a son of a gun as well. And he is everything that this team needs him to be. And when they have big wins, he says, we're not done.
Yeah.
I mean, they follow his lead in every single way. And I think he is the most valuable player. You normally give it to somebody on the team that has the most wins, and you give it to a team that is shown its worth. And I know he missed 2 games, and that's why people discount it.
But
when you see that Mahomes played all 17. I just think, you know, also it's a total, as you know, subjective award.
Yeah.
You could easily, you know, give Coach of the Year to Belichick and Reed every year, you know,
true.
and you don't. So, I mean, Mahomes already has one. I'd give one to Hurts.
Because it's voted on by the media members. It's almost like every single time I've ever like spoken about this on TV and broken it down, it's like, what is the best storyline? I think Joe Burrow is very interesting. You know, there's the Super Bowl hangover that everyone always talks about that people get stuck in, and they kind of did have it for a couple weeks. They went 0-2, and now they found themselves back in almost the big dance.
Yeah, I mean, what he's becoming is
and it doesn't
unbelievable.
seem like he cares. Like he's
it's because he's just he's a machine.
Yeah,
and
a robot.
It's what it looks like, which is why I knew something significant was up with Damar Hamlin the night that happened. When you saw Burrow looking like frightened and worried, I'm like, oh my God. He
looked like a child. Both of them did.
Him and Josh Allen, right.
Yeah, Joe.
Josh Allen, but seeing Joe Burrow's face looking anything like the face we always see on him was jarring to me.
Yeah.
Because he always, when he walks in the building and he taps Chris Collinsworth on the back at security but keeps walking, or he walks into a press conference room, or he walks into a huddle, he goes back on a sideline, he's the same guy. And, you know, what he's becoming is unbelievable and Brady-like. There's no other way to describe it. The way that he operates, the way that he wins, the way that he cuts your heart out, the way that he pre-snap, neck up, diagnoses plays, the way that he does everything. And it may not only include another Super Bowl appearance or win, but potentially this spring, one of the old Brady hometown discounts when the Bengals, you know, talk contract with him. We'll see what he does on that front. But he is a revelation. And, you know, sometimes we all get caught up, as you point out, narrative storylines. We were all coming in the season, can Allen and Mahomes do it again? Like, what, you know, the concept when we were all choosing the Bills back in September.
Yeah.
It was like, will Mahomes and Allen fight it out for the AFC? In which round of the playoffs will they meet was the question. Will it be divisional again, or will it be the AFC Championship again? And the answer was not at all, because Burrow has raised his hand and said, hold on a second. Better send in those refunds.
Yeah.
You know, like that is his, so far, mantra. I think it's been a perfect words for him to come out of his mouth this past week. So I think he's incredible too. But like I said, it wasn't a full season for him like it was for Hurts.
Right.
So that's why I'd go with Jalen Hurts.
Well, Associated Press, you're missing out. Look at that beautiful analysis that
there
he
was.
just broke down.
And by the way, it wasn't like, hold on a minute, let me check my notes.
No.
Roger Goodell says, give it to Hurts.
No.
You know, there it is. The email just came in.
Oh, the boss man.
Too late. So I'm so glad I'm making him happy. You know?
Look at your neighbor and say, secure the bag.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean,
49ers at Eagles. Eagles are favored by 2.5. What do you like? I feel like I'm going to change my mind several times before we get to Sunday.
I don't know. God, I do love what's going on with the Niners so much, and I saw it coming, and I mean, we're seeing Kittle here, and he is. I mean, Purdy has totally turned the light back on for Kittle in a way that even Jimmy G hadn't this year.
Yep. Brock Purdy, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I know, and the
like,
question
what?
is, in the same way that the Eagles weren't the Vikings, and we saw what happened with the Giants. The Niners aren't the Giants either.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the Niners can somehow stop the run and stop A.J. Brown. I just don't know if they can the way that the Eagles are playing right now. I think they can. I shouldn't say can. If they will.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if I press now on this show, I'm kind of leaning on flipping both scripts because Mahomes' ankle, even though I've been giving it team coverage on my show every day, best ankle coverage in the business.
Apparently didn't even walk out with a boot?
I mean,
no boot?
No boot. And
you got a boot camp?
Well, the difference is, because again, I'm all over this story.
Yeah.
Yesterday, he walked off the podium, which is not too high up.
Oh, okay.
It's 2 little mini steps.
Okay, so you guys have measured.
All right. No, I mean, we didn't measure the steps, but I mean, you look at the video, and he took the mini steps down,
right.
and he went down with no problem. Like he kind of hopped down them, and like it was not like slow and steady wins the race. He just negotiated the 2 mini steps very easily.
Right.
And by the way, it's significant when Romo, who normally calls his shots pretty damn well, finished the Bills-Bengals game and said if the ankle is really bad, he'll be on crutches Wednesday. So not only was he not on crutches, he wasn't in a boot, and he walked down these 2 steps, these 2 mini steps. Today, same podium, same riser. He didn't even go down the mini steps. He just went down off the riser in 1 step, landed on the ankle, and kept walking without a hitch.
Wow.
I'm telling you.
This was the Olympics. You'd give him close to a 10. He stuck the landing.
He stuck the landing. But to me, he's not thinking about
great
it.
Coverage.
It's not thinking about it.
Yes.
Like if I had to just use these mini steps versus riser scenario as an indication of anything, it's that he's playing Sunday.
Okay.
So, but let's just say Trey Hendrickson takes him down the wrong way, or Sam Hubbard, gives him a shot, and there's a little friendly fire goes down, and he hits the ankle. Then there's a whole different ball of wax. I think they're definitely taking the snow globe play out.
I would hope so.
Sunday.
Unless
Like,
they
that's
are
not,
up by 1 million, that would be scary.
I just don't know. If you even want to run if you're up by 1 million, even with the bye week, you don't want to run the risk of making a lateral pre-snap, post-huddle breaking moment by putting your main guy on the line like that.
A bold move.
So, all that said is I'm thinking of calling my own mulligan and going Bengals and Eagles.
Bengals,
even though
Eagles. So a half a Kelsey Brothers Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the bearded one makes it. That's what I'm saying. I guess so. I shouldn't say that. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. But I've got 2 more days to talk myself out of it.
I know that's the thing. What I love, last weekend's games, there were some pretty big favorites. Like some were favored by a whole touchdown. These ones are like you are just trying to find that needle. -2.5. The Chiefs are only favored by 1, which Cynthia Frulin said on our last week's show that she was thinking that the Bengals were going to be favored, especially because of that sprain.
You didn't see him come off the riser today, did you?
She didn't take that into account in the model.
I don't know what her model says.
The model is malfunctioning.
I don't know what it says. Oh, she might not have the whole riser step thing in her mathematical equation.
Well, we're going to have to hit her up.
I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. You just need to take this all into account. But by the way, I could take the easy way out.
What's the easy way?
Well, I already chose Chiefs and Niners, so I've got to stick with it.
I'm not worried
Which
about
is, I don't. That's not servicing the audience, right?
No, I don't think so either.
It isn't.
If I'm afraid of getting a tweet from Cold Takes or Old Takes Exposed.
Oh, I don't. I already
block them.
No, I already at them say I don't care what you think. I've literally said that.
Let them know. Associated Press.
We're all friends. But seriously, that's not servicing the audience by saying,
You're right.
I'm not telling you what I think now. I just want to remind you I have the opportunity to have been right.
Also, it's ridiculous that you're going to take picks from preseason, mid-season.
Well,
Super Bowl.
I saw it at Thanksgiving, Chiefs, Niners, And then when given a chance at the outset of the playoffs, I stuck with it. So I'm going to ride it all the way out.
Love it.
But, you know, if Mahomes is compromised and the Eagles are playing at their top level again, which I didn't see in the 3 weeks prior to sticking with them to begin the beginning of the playoffs, then, you know, I gotta take it all into account. So this is the way I'm leaning right now.
Okay, I love it. I am going 49ers, Bengals.
What the hell's your problem?
I don't know.
I
would love a Kelsey Brothers Super Bowl. That'd be fun. Storylines. Okay, Rich, before we let you go, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time.
You got it.
I have a question. It is considered the question of the Bench with Bonnetta podcast.
Okay.
Some people have started to put it into their dating profiles because it's such a good conversation starter.
All right.
Except for every time I ask it on this podcast, people melt down. They feel like they need to have some like grand answer.
Okay.
I don't want you to feel that way. I just feel
What a
like
setup.
you're going to have a thoughtful answer. I
What
know
a
that about
setup.
you.
What a
okay?
setup.
So here's what happens.
Yeah.
You die. Okay?
Great start.
Yeah. It's not a bad death. It's just you float off. Whatever. You get to come back to Earth.
Does that matter if I've been dismembered or I just pass in my sleep?
You don't actually know how you die. Well, let's start there. You don't know how you die, but you're dead. You get to come back to Earth for 30 minutes.
Yes.
You cannot see anybody that would know you because they know that you're dead. So if they saw you, they would be freaked out. Can't see anybody that you love. Can't see anybody that you know. 30 minutes. Where are you going and what are you doing? And take all the time you need. It's the beauty of editing.
What am I doing?
Where are you going?
All right. So
is it a meal? Are you sitting on a favorite bench? Are you looking
But I mean, so I can live my life. I'm living again.
People are.
But I'm not allowed to see anybody.
You're not allowed to see anybody that you love. Because the typical answer would be like, well, I want to go home. I want to see my family. I want to hang out with my friends.
Sure.
We're taking that off the table.
All right.
It's worth
do
noting.
I still look like myself? Do I come back as Brad Pitt?
You could.
Like, am I Joe Black?
You
know what I mean? Like,
the perimeters of this.
That's what I'm because but these are important
I would say
details.
You're you.
Like,
I would say you're you.
Okay.
You're you, but
so I can't be around anybody who's like a football fan or something like that.
People can't really like see your face. You're just floating around.
So I'm like a thumb. Like I'm
you
like a face of a thumb
of a human.
I'm a thumb of a
Nobody
human.
really is
that
paying
could go
attention
get
to you.
I don't know.
You're invisible. Okay.
All right.
30 minutes. Would you go maybe to a football field, sit down?
No.
Okay.
Where would I go?
I don't know. Say Michigan, something.
I don't know.
It's worth noting Kyle Brandt refused to answer this question.
We don't know the
hit
answer.
him so hard.
We all know his answer. It's wherever Josh Allen is. But he can't see. But he can't see anybody. He can't go there because he loves him, and Josh clearly loves Kyle.
Yep.
You wouldn't answer?
Wouldn't answer. He deflected. He made a joke.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 2-3 minutes because I haven't thought about it. You know, like where would I go? What would I do?
I said there's
know.
this place that I grew up, this lake. It's always like so warm. And I had one day where I just like escaped, turned my phone off, and I just floated.
Yeah, but
in
you only
the
have a
lake
half
for,
an
like,
hour.
I would just go back and have a little float.
Go back and have a float. All right, I would get a slice of New York pizza.
Okay, from where? Certain place?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're all good.
They all taste the same.
Yeah, really. I'd get a slice of New York pizza, and then I'd probably go to like Yankee Stadium.
Really?
Yeah.
Just sit outside or go inside?
Taking a game.
Wow.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
And
of
hope
game.
like I'm Moonlight Graham, and I get back on that diamond, and I throw a no-hitter. Can I throw a no-hitter?
Sure, you can do whatever.
I mean, I'm calling attention to myself.
I'm
just a thumb. I'm just a thumb throwing a no-hitter for the Yankees. Can I come back with like powers, or am myself?
Okay, this is getting too
You're
outrageous.
the one who
It
brought
was a
this
simple
up.
question.
No, it's not
now
simple.
You're a thumb.
It's
I'm
not
never
simple.
asking this question.
It's not simple.
The control room is laughing because they
It's
know how
not
many times
simple.
I've failed at this.
It's not simple. Like if I come back with like superpowers or something like that, if I can come back with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball for half an hour.
So is that what I should ask? 30 minutes, you get to come back to Earth, you have a superpower.
Yes, what do you do?
doing?
Yes. It's much better than like, what am I going to do? You can't see anyone you love. They can't see you. You've had a horrible death or a great death. It depends on however you imagine your death. I mean, like, that puts your guest on, on the heels to begin with. Like, what happens? Like, I don't know. But I can't see anyone I love. People can't know who I am. So, that's what I would do. Yeah. I'd have a slice of pizza. I'd get a Yankee game, and I'd try to, like Moonlight Graham. I go back on the field, and I become, Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
And strike people out.
Thumb.
Is that a problem?
Nope. No problem. No problem here.
Because I don't know these rules that you come up
There's
with.
no rules because this question's never going to exist
there you
on
go.
this podcast
I've retired.
again. Rich Eisen, everybody, killed the question.
Yes, like you
question.
killed me about 5 minutes ago.
Thanks for your time, Rich.
Anytime.
You're the best. All right, big thanks to Rich Eisen for his time. I feel like this is a real show today. Coming up after the break, we're going to get back to our old shenanigans. We are talking the best and the worst things that I saw all week. Don't go anywhere.
He's the best.
All right, time to talk about the best and the worst thing that I saw all week. We were talking about Joe Burrow earlier in the show and just how calm and cool and collected he is. But there's some times that people will hit a nerve with him, and all he's got to do is say one little line, and somebody asked him a little question last week. Let's see what he had to say.
For everyone talking about a neutral AFC Championship game, not even thinking about you guys, how much did that motivate you coming into this?
You better send those refunds.
You can't even see his eyes. Better send those refunds. Just calm, cool. Give him the MVP just because of his post-game sounds. Absolutely loved to see that. Joe Burrow, like I was saying earlier, Super Bowl hangover. Where is it? It's nowhere to be found. They started the season 0-2, and they've found themselves back in the AFC Championship. It's pretty incredible. Okay, next up, this is fascinating. Okay, the Bengals have claimed cornerback Chris Lamons off waivers from the Chiefs. Move is deferred until day after Super Bowl, so he cannot play for the Bengals. Bengals are straight up just trying to get some info. They are just trying to figure out what the Chiefs are up to. This is kind of somewhere in between best thing and the worst thing that I saw. It seems a little bit cheeky. You shouldn't really have to do this, but at the same time, a trip to the Super Bowl is on the line. So, I don't know. You guys tell me, does this feel a little bit yuck? There's something a little bit yuck about it. So I think I'm going to put this somewhere right in the middle between the best thing and the worst thing that I saw. Bengals, you don't need it. You don't need to do this. You don't need to it seems a little cheaty. I'm going to whisper, it seems a little cheaty. I don't like it. Okay, then the worst thing that I saw, which was actually kind of the best thing that I saw unfold over the week. Mike Hilton, after the win, said, "We'll see you all in Burrowhead." Woo! And then Travis Kelce went on his podcast New Heights and said, "Oh, you guys are giving us bulletin board material."
142 decibels.
Did you guys break the record this week?
I don't know. Maybe we're going to have to break it this week because a lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans are calling it Burrowhead instead of Arrowhead.
Arrowhead. Whoa.
Yeah.
The disrespect to Arrowhead continues.
They're throwing a lot of bulletin board material out there, Ron.
I cannot wait for this game. I love bulletin board material. I am very pro bulletin board material on both sides. Rub it in, and then the other side gets mad at it, so we all have something to talk about on television. It is absolutely beautiful. Boys and girls and everybody else, that is our show. That is Benched with Bonnetta. Huge thanks to Rich Eisen for joining. I can't believe he came and did the thing and answered the question. And shout outs to Parker, who works on our show. She had the best answer to the question. Okay, this is the last time we hear about this. It's not. I'm totally going to ask this question again. She said that she would rob a bank, okay, and then leave the money somewhere her family could find it. And I think that that's the best answer of the question that we have gotten so far. All right, she's not going to grab a slice of pizza. She's not going to go have a little float in the lake. She's robbing a bank, peeps. Where are you gonna find anything to rob a bank with? Your thumb. We'll answer that question next week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you. Enjoy all the football. We'll see you back on Tuesday with Kyle Brandt. Peace.